In this tutorial, we will be performing an SMPTE Diagnostic Imaging Display Assessment. From the Your Display page, select the display to be assessed and the QA test to be performed, either the SMPTE Diagnostic Imaging Test Pattern or the AAPM TG18QC test pattern. Select Run Now. The instruction page will be displayed. You can confirm that the display being assessed is listed in the upper left-hand corner. You can also see that you can abort the test at any time and none of the information will be recorded to the service. The instruction page clearly describes the steps necessary to perform prior to the assessment. Make sure that the person performing the test has read the instructions and has followed them. Select Start the Test button. The first page of the test will be displayed. A test pattern and a list of questions should be displayed. Again, you can confirm that the test to be performed is being tested on the display in the upper left-hand corner. You should also make sure to select full screen on/off. The first step is to enter the name of the person performing the test. The first set of questions address the conditions under which the test was performed. All questions must be answered with the exception of the ambient light level. Has the screen surface been thoroughly cleaned? Any fingerprint or smudges could affect the display's performance. Has the display been allowed to warm up a minimum of 30 minutes? All backlight sources require a certain amount of time to stabilize. As temperature increase, output may change. Your manufacturer may have specifications for adequate warm-up times. Is the display in the normal operating position? Ambient light levels and reflections can have a direct effect on the display's performance. The test should be performed under normal operating conditions. Is the browser window in full screen mode? This is necessary for the test pattern to be displayed on a uniform gray level background. Is the ambient light as low as possible? Ambient light level and the reflections it produces can dramatically affect the display's performance. Do you have an ambient light monitor? Having an ambient light monitor like the right light monitor ensures that appropriate lighting is used during radiographic interpretation. In this example, we do not have one. The ambient light level is optional. However, if you purchased a right light monitor, it can provide the light level during testing. Click the Next button to continue with the test. The second page of the test will be displayed. Inspect each area of the high contrast horizontal and vertical lines. Are the black and white lines pairs clearly distinct and easy to separate? By clicking on the Hint button, the area to be visually inspected are outlined in red. Sharpness is not in question here, only if the lines are distinct. Only the high contrast areas are to be evaluated. Are the 5% and 95% clearly visible in the 0 and 100% backgrounds? Again, using the hint, to identify the areas to be visually inspected. You should be able to barely see the 5% on the small square inside the larger 0% background. If the ambient light level is too high, you will not be able to see this feature. Make sure that the ambient light level is below 100 lux. If the ambient light level is low and you still cannot see the 5%, you may have to adjust the brightness and contrast of your display manually. Ideally, you should perform a calibration of your display through the DICOM Grayscale Standard Display function. This will ensure that the display is performing optimally. Perfect Lume Dental software and the X-Rite colorimeter can be used to perform this calibration. Check out our website if you want to purchase this product. In order to adjust the brightness and contrast manually, you have to first disable any image processing option on your monitor. Your monitor should be set to something like sRGB color or normal mode. Next, set the display to the default manufacturer settings. Depending upon the monitor, you may need to search through the manual settings to find this option. Next, set the brightness on the display so that the 0% gray level on the test pattern appears black and not washed out. This brightness setting will be dependent upon the ambient light level. The higher the ambient light level, the higher the brightness level. Next, adjust the contrast so that both the 0, 5% and the 95%, 100% can be seen clearly. Some modern displays do not have a contrast setting, and only the brightness can be set on the display. Once the display has been adjusted, perform the test again. Can the 12 squares of gray levels from 0 to 100 clearly be differentiated? Again, the hint can show you exactly which squares are to be evaluated. If not, return and adjust the brightness contrast again. Are the black and white transitions sharp and clear? This is primarily, again, we can use the hint button to demonstrate what areas to be evaluated. This primary is an assessment of the high contrast sharpness. Edge sharp should be clear and easily discernible. Is the entire image visible? This is just a check to make sure that the test pattern was displayed properly. Does the grid pattern appear square? This is primarily for CRT displays, as LCD flat panel displays usually do not exhibit geometric distortion unless a manufacturing defect was made. Is the test pattern free of any color non-uniformity? This is to evaluate the balance and correction for color displays to represent grayscale images. The entire test pattern should not exhibit any colors other than gray. No red, blue, or green tinting, just grays. Finally, is the test pattern free of any luminance, non-uniformity from the center to the edges? This includes the test pattern and the background on which the test pattern is displayed. The background field of the test pattern and page should be a uniform 50% gray. As you see, you can go back to any point in the page to change any answers or to reevaluate. All answers, except for the ambient light level, must be answered prior to going forward. As you can see, after the assessment is performed, the actual display device is listed, all the information recorded about that display, as well as the date that was the assessment that was just performed. As you can see, history shows the last 2 times these tests were performed on this display device. And you can look at the specific details of that assessment, including all the responses that were made to the answers of that assessment. In order to go back and perform another assessment, simply go back to your displays and you can select the next display to be assessed.